Super Trofeo Europe moves on to Zandvoort for races 5 and 6 of a championship that thus far has produced plenty of surprises and plenty of drama, and 2 wins for Leonardo Puccini and Kevin Gillard as a combination. 1 win to Alberto Di Folco, who guested at Monza, and 1 to Max Wearing. It's the usual format, 50-minute race, mandatory pit stops between 20 and 30, a longer pit stop if you're on your own because you are deemed to have an advantage. You know what the car and the track conditions are like, whereas a 2-driver entry with a driver fresh into the car does not, and therefore it's a 3-second longer pit stop if you're a soloist. And as I say, you've got the option of doing it on your own or with a co-driver to split the costs, to split the driving time. 4 classes for the same type of car, all Lamborghini Huracan Evos, but there is the Pro, Pro-Am, the AMs and the Lamborghini Cup. And pole position for this first race claimed by Jonathan Cecotto. David Addison trackside, Gemma Scott down on the grid, and among the home heroes is Maxime Ouston, and he's with Gemma.
Max, down here on the grid, P6, this is your home race. You know, it's an incredible circuit. It's an honour for you to race here, I imagine.
Yeah, I like the track because it's a super fast car. Oh. I like the track, it's a super fast car, and the track is just like a roller coaster. And I raced here before with a Mazda MX-5 Cup and a BMW M2 CS, but Lamborghini is just different. It's special.
And these cars are incredibly close in performance. You know, absolutely anybody can be up the front. It changes regularly, and the battle is huge.
Yeah, I think the overtaking possibilities are a little bit weak here, but yeah, we have to try our best, and let's see it.
We've seen through the banking that it's better to stay high, of course.
Yeah, because there's a little bump, and if you take it, then you get a little more overspeed there.
And we'll be watching you from a live onboard camera.
Yeah, perfect.
Thank you. Have a fantastic race.
Thank you.
So Maxime Ouston shares with Milan Tikens, and that car lines up 6th on the grid, and that's the view. Ahead is Karol Bash, who leads with Andrzej Lewandowski the Pro-Am competition, and indeed is first on the grid from Pro-Am. Karol Bash very much the pro, and the grid based on 1 driver, 1 session. So this Q1 driver that did the time is the starting driver. Different grid for tomorrow's race set on the 2nd qualifying time. 1 car missing, we understand, is going to be JM Littmann. Now, JM had initially been joined by Antoine Bottiroli. Bottiroli had an accident yesterday and is elected not to race, but then the stewards decided to impose a drive-through penalty in each race on him for now being a solo driver rather than having a co-driver. And JM has decided that A, he doesn't want to do 50 minutes on his own, understandably, but it's also, got to say, a slightly odd penalty, given that there is the option in the regulation to drive solo anyway. So with the thought of a penalty before he even goes racing and no co-driver, so JM Littmann has decided that he'll not take to the grid after all. Hopefully he will be back later on in the season. Kevin Gillardoni is another man to watch, sharing with Leonardo Puccini, championship leader with Gemma.
Kevin, of course, you're taking the 2nd stint in this race. There's a bit of work to do here at the start with 2 rows ahead of you, but certainly you're no stranger to the front of the grid.
Yeah, we didn't have a perfect qualifying because of traffic, but I think everybody was struggling with it. So we are here. It's a technical track. It's not so wide, so we need to push at the beginning. But as we saw in the other race, the 2nd stint will be the most important. So we will do our best as always. We are in the Netherlands, a lot of drivers from Netherlands, so we need to take our best from this track and keep pushing for now to the end of the season.
You feel the Dutch drivers have the advantage being their home track?
I don't know this, but we will do our best 100%, and at the end of the race we will see where we will finish.
Have a great race.
Yeah,
thank
you. Ciao.
Another car that's just worth a mention before we go racing is that of Oscar Lee. Now, he had an incident in qualifying with Dan Pell in number 33, which is why Dan Pell is penultimate on the grid, but Oscar Lee was given a grid drop for causing the collision, which resulted in the 33 car being off the road and also a long full course yellow within the session. So Oscar Lee starts last, and when Dan Wells takes over the car, it should fly, because we know that he's a very, very quick driver indeed. So the slightly amended grid. It's also been declared, I noticed, a wet track, which, having just been outside, didn't feel as though there was any rain in the air, but at least that means that the onus on any tyre choice, if the conditions do change, falls to the teams, not to race direction. So the grid is formed. Jonathan Cecotto on pole position, and Noah Watt, number 2, the green and grey car with the door wide open alongside on the outside of row 1 with 5 minutes to go to the start now. The second row of the grid, there, number 41, another of the many Dutch drivers, Glenn van Berlo, will do the opening stint. And then Carol Bash on the outside of that row. Go back to the 4th row, there's Michael Doorbakker's car, and Michael is with Gemma.
Michael, we heard from Kevin Gillardoni that the second stint is going to be the most crucial stint, and that's obviously the stint that you'll be doing as well in your car.
Yeah, the tires, unfortunately, with so many right-hand corners, do suffer, especially the left rear. So definitely the second part of the race will be interesting for our stint.
And looking here for your co-driver down into the first turn for lap 1, it's quite a long run down into that turn 1.
Yeah, also with so much wind, the sand has gotten to the inside line here in turn 1, and it actually goes downhill into the apex. So it's going to be interesting. I think it will benefit us if we just take it slow in the first part and try to do the difference in the second stint.
You talk about the wind there. It has calmed down a little bit from this morning, and the temperatures have come up a little bit as well.
Yeah, but compared to what we had in practice yesterday, it's almost 20 degrees colder, so it's a bit of an unknown for everyone. So it should be very interesting for you guys at home watching.
We'll look forward to it. Thank you very much. Have a great race.
Thank you.
Michael Doorbacker, the Mexican driver. It's a very international entry, this. He shares with the Italian driver who will go first in that car, Matteo Michelotto. Number 11, that's the championship leader, Leonardo Pulcini, will start. Leonardo, who is another of the single-seater converts that we have on the grid, and one of many drivers on this grid, part of the Lamborghini Young Driver Programme. The Oregon team with the piratical cross on the side of it. There you have the car, good to go. And Leonardo Pulcini is the man that will go first. An Oregon, hugely experienced Italian team, whether it's in GT cars, one make, saloon, sports cars, you name it, over the years. And there you have the 3-minute board being displayed before we go racing. Rolling start, mandatory pit stops, and of course 4 classes of competition to keep an eye on over the course of the race. Plus the story of what progress Oscar Lee and Dan Wells can make from the rear of the grid, and also Dan Pell, number 33, is going to be worth keeping an eye on. He's quick, home circuit, and a new co-driver, Danny Kroes, will be the second driver in that car, another of the quick Dutchmen. One of the most experienced men on the grid is Mark Rossdale, and he's with Gemma.
Mark, we've caught you just as you're leaving the grid here. The car's a little way back. You've got a bit of work to do.
Yeah, I hope so that the race will be better for us, because as you saw, that qualifying session and as well the free practice was not very well, and we just hurt also the bumper yesterday, and I said hope today that will be much better.
What was the problem that you had yesterday?
I think we have lost the rear a little bit, because probably have less traction on the car, and it would be quite difficult also to see the guy. It was the first time also to the kind of track, and Zandvoort is not, as you know, an easy track.
It's a fantastic track to drive, though, isn't it?
Yeah, it's nice. It's quite difficult to overtake for sure, but very nice track, and to be really each time is not to push too much, because you're finish on the gravel very, very soon, and that's a very, very interesting track for sure.
Surely. Well, now for you, the moment of pressure to watch the start and then prepare for your stint.
Yeah. and of course, I hope that tomorrow it will be not rainy time, because I think that rain is not really the good things for all drivers, but hope so.
Thank you very much. Have a great race.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye-bye.
It's been pretty mixed in terms of the weather this weekend. We had glorious sunshine yesterday, followed by about 3 hours of utterly torrential rain that flooded the circuit, flooded the tunnel. It was just horrendous, and activity on track had to be canned. Today it's been dry all day, but it's been like this really, not cold, but it's been overcast, grey, bit of a breeze, and tomorrow there might be some rain on the way. Who knows? You take your choice with the weather forecasts right now. So the Urus, the lead car, will accelerate away in a moment, and then the grid will be released, ready for the formation lap. Just looking down the grid, and a quick word about what's going on in the classes in the championship. The Pro-Am battle, I think I mentioned, was Karol Bash and Andrei Lewandowski as the championship leaders. Second in Pro-Am is the car of the Russian driver Dmitry Zatsava and Italian Andrea Cola, and the third Pro-Am is number 66, which is Bronek Formanek and Josef Zaruba. Within the AMs, The championship there is being led by Raffaele Giannoni, and he's absent, so he ain't here. But we do have Claude-Yves Gosselin, and you just heard from him, Marc Rossdale second. And third, Cedric Leimer and Laurent Yenny missing as well. In the Lamborghini Cup, Hans Fabry is the championship leader from Pierre Feligioni and Daniel Waschinsky. And third, father and son, Donovan and Luciano Privitello, in the car run by the FFF racing team, familiar from GT World Challenge Europe, for example. So this is the grid. The start drivers, Jonathan Cecotto goes toe-to-toe with Noah Watt at the front, and the second row of the grid has Len van Berlo and Carol Bash, Pro versus Pro-Am, Target versus VS Racing. The third row of the grid is Leonardo Pulcini, one to watch, a bit further back on the grid than you might anticipate, with Milan Tikens alongside. Before row 4 pits Mattia Michelotto alongside the Monza Race 1 winner Max Wearing. Starting 9th is Miguel Ramos, who's already had a class win earlier on in the day in GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup, and alongside him is Massimo Siglia. Ray Calvin, the Canadian driver, comes next, with Dimitri Vatsava lining up alongside him. Then you have Bronek Formanek and the Luxembourgish driver, namely Gabriel Rendoni, for the Leipert Motorsport team. Next on the grid, American Gerhard Watzinger for Leipert, and Pierre Feligioni will start in this now amended grid with the withdrawal of J.M. Lippmann's car. Claude-Yves Gosselin is next on the grid, with the next driver being Peter Matic, the Serbian. Oliver Freimuth, hugely experienced one-mate racer, comes next, with Donovan Privitello ahead of Hans Fabry and Kumar Prabhakaran. And then the two to watch at the very back of the grid, Dan Pale and Oscar Lee. So those are the drivers that will do battle, 24 of them, for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, making a return to the Zandvoort circuit. It's been here before, but not for a while, and it's good to have the cars back in the dunes then. A man to watch in the second stint, certainly Kiko Galbiati taking over from Miguel Ramos. As I say, Miguel's not slow, he's already had a class win today, reigning International GT Open champion. There going through is 21, which is Gabriele Rindoni's car. And as the field files now through the Masters Bocht, they're getting themselves into formation, ready for the start of the race. So Oliver Freimuth in the background, number 24. This is the view on board 54, which is going to be started by Milan Tikens, another part of the young driver program operated by Lamborghini. The safety car you just see in the background there, just off the side of the circuit. If it is needed, it will be deployed from there. The cars now turn up through the right-hander of the Kumo box, and now you see the banking on the Ari Luyendyk curve. So the field turns through. These adjustments to the circuit all made in anticipation of Formula 1 coming back to Zandvoort. Should have been last year, will now be later this season. Much anticipation of seeing Max Verstappen on home soil as the 5th race of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe then is about to get underway. The cars accelerate their way up now towards the timing line. This is Max Wearing's view. If the race director, Daniele Galbiati, is happy, he'll give the instruction to get the race underway, which we get now. Good start by Jonathan Cecotto then from pole position, and not quite so quick out of the blocks. Noah Watt on the outside line, but is he going to be able to swoop round the outside? As third goes Van Berlo. Up the inside in the Oregon car is Pulcini, way below the white line there, and Pulcini desperately trying to find some track space. Max Wearing gets mugged and loses a place in the process as the cars get up now through the approach to the Hugenholtz box for the first time. Pulcini in the pink, yellow, green colours goes out wide, up the curb, back on, and very nearly has contact there with Tikens, who just about avoided him. Nicoloso is on his toes through Hunsrug as well. They're in the VS Racing car. In fact, it's Carol Bash, forgive me, number 16, who in the same colours is trying to surge his way forward as up through the right-hander of Skyflach. They come for the first time, but the race leader doing his level best now to edge away from the opposition is Jonathan Cecotto, and a good first few corners from him as the cars now power their way up through the mid part of this opening lap of the race. Is Cecotto getting away from what? For the moment, the answer is no. Pulcini, however, has not really made progress at all, and he's getting, by the look of it, mighty frustrated at the moment. There through is Bronek Formanek, number 66. So the race leaders accelerate towards the end of lap number 1, and it is Jonathan Cecotto then that leads the way. Down to the Hans-Ernst Bocht they come. 16, Carol Bash is under attack, and facing the wrong way in strife is Gabriele Rindoni. So the Leipert car, that looks like turn 8 that it's had a moment, is stranded. Can it get going again? Is that going to cause an interruption as off the road bounces number 41? That is Glenn Van Berlo, and that's cost him many a place as round the outside there. Pulcini is under attack, look from Milan Tikans as they come over the line. So 1 lap in the book, Cecotto leads. What second? All of a sudden up to third is Pulcini, fourth there is Tikans, and fifth behind is Karol Bash. Max Weering crossed the line sixth after his rally cross. Mikolotov is seventh, Kvatsava is eighth, Van Berlo is ninth, and 10th is Miguel Ramos. So Glenn Van Berlo, after his moment, down the order. Way out wide there goes Karol Bash, recovers, but brake too late for turn 3, ran out wide. And the net result of all of that is that loses ground and loses momentum as well. And Oscar Lee's car not shown as having taken the start of the race. So that was one put to the back of the grid after the penalty for qualifying, and it doesn't look as though that got to the start. However, Gabriele Rindoni's car did get going again as far as we can tell. And there's no suggestion of an interruption to the race as Cecotto led at the end of the opening lap by over a second. There in second place is Noah Watt, who shares this car with Sebastian Balthazar. Cecotto, in turn, shares with Kevin Rossdale. Jonathan is the quicker of the two, so his task is to get on with the job and try and build a lead and hope that there's no safety car at all in this race that will jeopardise it, either in his stint or in his co-driver's stint, when Kevin Rossdale is going to try and hang on to that advantage. There, number 61 through, that's Max Weering. So the Monza winner, sixth at the end of the opening lap, and on board now, 54. So this is the view from Milan Tikans through the Kumho box, and now get set for the banking. That steep right-hander tilts you over, come off the line, the road straightens up, the car gets flicked back onto an even keel and then over the line. But Cecotto's advantage is growing all the time. We'd seen the spin from Gabriele Rindoni, and Dan Pale is under investigation for it as well. So that incident is being looked at as Karol Bash leads in Pro-Am from Dimitri Kvatsava and then Miguel Ramos. So there you've got Ramos doing the first stint versus Karol Bash. Andrei Lewandowski will take over to go toe-to-toe with Kiko Galbiati. It's going to be fascinating in that second stint to see how the Pro-Am fight pans out. Karol Bash, who came into the championship, what, 3-4 years ago with Vito Postiglione and was instantly a star, who's been very, very impressive in Lamborghinis, whether it's been in the one-make series or in Italian GT3 spec cars. And right now, he's on a mission to try and take another class win. Already this year, they've taken one victory. That came, sorry, 2 wins. One came at Monza and one at Paul Ricard. So belying the experience and the pace of others, win rate is a pretty good one. Karol Bash, who's been a champion in the World Final as well as within the actual championship itself, came out of karting and right now is inching up onto the back look of Milan Tikans. So although there is overall honour at stake, it's the class points that are more important. Of course, though, the more cars you can get between yourself and the class opposition, the better, because it means that there's even more for them to try and find a way through before they can get up with your car and think about an attack. So at the end of lap number 2, leaders went through with 1.3 seconds being the margin. At the end of lap 3, let's see what Cecotto versus what is. It's 1.4 seconds, and Leonardo Pulcini third, just going out of shot, has done the fastest lap of the race. It's game on for fourth, where you've still got Tikans just ahead of Karol Bash. Pro versus Pro-Am in this duel right now. So those cars power their way once again down towards turn 3. We've seen Bash go wide. That's another banked corner, very steeply banked, and you can fire the car out of the corner. Also, of course, the difference of having it banked means there are 2 lines now, so it does produce a little bit more drama of the corner. Leonardo Pulcini's start was a very good one because he went to the inside line to gain ground. Let's have another look from another angle at the getaway. Pulcini in the pink nose car up against the pit wall, keeps on coming and makes that move on the inside of Glenn Van Berlo, number 41, as they go through the hairpin. Look, ducks below almost all 4 wheels across that white line. And this was how Max Weering saw the start. Cars absolutely everywhere down towards the Tarzan hairpin, but that very inviting run-off tarmac now. Everybody avoids that. In fact, we haven't had a car off in it all weekend, as far as I know, pretty amazingly. And a real scrum up there towards turn 2, up at the Gerlach Bocht. That was the end of the lap. That was what did for Glenn Van Berlo. Got it sideways, ran it through the gravel and off the road, and Milan Tikans saw it thus. In fact, he had a twitch of his own and was lucky to avoid the back of the sideways car. That was how, of course, Pulcini got ahead. Right, that is the number 6, Matteo Michelotto, car 7th at the moment as it swoops off the banking. The leaders have gone by, and the margin at the end of 4 laps is 1.7 seconds. Another fastest lap between Cecotto, so the margin is growing all the time now as they drop down towards Tarzan. And in the classes, Carol Bash leads in Pro-Am, Ray Calvin leads the AMs, and it is Pierre Feligioni leading currently within the Lamborghini Cup. As there, Carol Bash swoops off the banking. He's got the pace to run with the pros, even though that's a Pro-Am car. Nothing to do with your driver ability, it's the grading system, but Carol Bash is very much one of the pros. Quick young driver. This is Max Wearing's view, and Max Wearing comes now up through turn 7, but not close enough at the moment to think about making a move. He was a surprise winner at Monza, having benefited from lots of cars all faltering towards the end because it was a tyre issue related race, but racing both in the North American and also the European Series this year, the Johan Crown Motorsport car that Max Wearing needs to get a bit of a wriggle on, because 6th, and it's not really closing on those ahead at the moment as the race leader, Jonathan Cecotto, extends the margin. That said, Noah Watt, son of Jason Watt, former racer himself before his nasty motorbike accident that paralysed him. He came back to racing subsequently, but in sports cars that was specially adapted. Noah Watt bringing the gap down in the first sector, and in the second losing a couple of tenths, so it's a bit elasticated at the moment between the top 2. Over the timing line go the race leaders. That now puts 5 laps in the book. Cecotto still with the fastest lap of the race to his name. At the back of this little group there, Max Wearing drops down to Tarzan hairpin. 7th Michelotto, then 8th is Van Berlo trying to recover. Where is Dan Pell? He's up into 9th place. So 33, Dan Pell, from the back of the grid up into 9th spot. Very impressive effort that, as Ray Calvin goes through. Now he is now the leading AM. So the Canadian driver going nicely. We saw him come across to race in Europe last year with all the travel dramas. It makes sense, I suppose, to stay in Europe, get a season under your belt. So the Leipert car of Ray Calvin goes through, climbs the hill up towards Hunsrück now. Another 10 minutes before the pit window would open. It's a 10-minute window, which therefore reduces the amount of difference that the pro drivers can make in a Pro-Am car. Means that the slower driver still has to make a significant element of contribution to the race outcome. So there, number 16 goes through. Andrei Lewandowski will take over this car. It is 5th, and the class rival, Dimitri Gutsava and Andrea Kohler's car, is only 10th. So there's quite a gap between them. The dark horse will be Ramos and Galbiati, currently 3rd within the class. Kiko Galbiati, another driver that specialises in Lamborghinis. And number 16 there turns through, so up towards the timing line comes Carol Bash. Now, his lap time is like relative to those ahead. He's not lapping quite so quickly, in fairness, but whether that's because he can't or is content to run at a class-leading pace, the team will decide. Over the line goes Pulcini, still there in that 3rd place. Now, he, in turn, is lapping a little bit quicker than the leader. Last time, in fact, Noah Watt was quicker than Cecotto to bring the gap down to a 2.5 seconds. This is Milan Tikan's view. Up towards turn 3, look at the banking, you stare out of the windscreen, there's just this wall of tarmac ahead of you, and then eventually, having looped your way around turn 3, you see some grass and see the sky again. This is Hunsrück, then the Slottermacher Bocht, named after the great driver and skid control and race instructor Rob Slottermacher, through Skyflach, and then down towards turn 8, the Masters Bocht. Right at 9, left at 10, and in the gravel is Dan Pell. That's at Skyflach, isn't it? So having just said what a great job he was doing from the back of the grid to 9th place, Dan has binned it, and he's a long way through the kitty litter. That's going to take quite a lot of getting out of, I would have thought. And already the crane is being lowered, ready to receive him. So are we going to have a full course yellow or a safety car to get him out of there? I think he's going to drive out, and there's a slow VS Racing entry. Is that Carol Bash? No, that is a lapped Kumar Prabhakaran. So the Malaysian driver, new to the circuit. Again, there's no racing going on in Asia, so he can't take part in the Super Trofeo Asia Series. He's come to Europe, another new circuit to learn, and Prabhakaran Kumar keeping out of everybody's way as he adapts to a whole new circuit, comes over the timing line. Dan Pell had just done the absolute best first sector on that lap, then he fell off in sector 2. Real shame, because it had been a mega first stint, but we'll wait and see whether that car is going to be considered dangerous up at turn 7, up at Skeflach. So there is the race leader. That is Jonathan Cecotto, and the gap down to 0.6 of a second. Noah Watt is having a red-hot go here. He's brought that gap down hugely over the last 2 or 3 laps. Max Weering here for Johan Kraan Motorsport crests the rise. There's the car off. There is a safety car being deployed. You see the yellow on the screen. It's now confirmed safety car, so the gap was coming down anyway. Now the lead gap is going to disappear altogether because the safety car is called for from race direction, and the race as a consequence is going to be neutralised as the field now all files through behind. At the end of the lap it will be, there it is, the safety car on track to pick them all up, and so a race interruption and all those gaps come down, and this is exactly what Cecotto did not need. All the hard yards taken away by a safety car. Having said all of that, though, as I just mentioned, the gap's coming down anyway, intriguingly. So Jonathan Cecotto, one of the 2 sons of Johnny Cecotto, the Venezuelan former Grand Prix racer, motorcycle world champion, touring car champion, and Jonathan, who's done most of his racing initially in Italy. Now he's going to be caught by Noah Watt, even though that gap was coming down anyway. So this means that we've got about 6 3/4 minutes to go before the pit window was due to open. It might be, if the car is still in the gravel and the safety car is still on track, that pit window will get shunted back. We'll have to wait and see. So now Milan Tikens, who will hand this car over to Matt Ooston in the second stint of the race, goes through turn 3. Tell that, because all you can see is tarmac. Flips a gear, and there is Dan Pell, who's got himself across the beach, now over the tyre wall, and becomes a spectator as the car has to be craned away. Now these cars don't have the lifting gear on the roof like GT3 cars do, so it's a bit more of a complex operation here to try and scoop them up. So as long as the ropes and straps are in the right place, it should be a fairly easy lift. Of course, the delicate operation is not to damage the car at all. So poor old Dan Powell not having a happy time of it. Track conditions still registering as wet, intriguingly. That was the decision made by the race director before the race began. So as the field turns through behind the safety car, 23 we started with, and 22 survive at the moment. There is 41, recovering from the earlier dramas, Glenn Van Berlo, having been off through the gravel at turn 16, and look at that, elevate, up goes Dan Pell's car, and the Dutch driver out of the race, the car almost out of harm's way. So, like a pirate ship raising its mast, isn't it? The car out of harm's way, and we'll be back in business very shortly with probably one more lap behind the safety car. There is number 9 through, the car that won at Monza in the hands of Alberto Di Folco, here being driven at the moment by Miguel Ramos. Over the timing line goes the safety car. Cecotto, Watt, Pulcini, Tikens, Bash, Weering, Michelotto, Van Berlo, Vatsava, Ramos is your top 10 at the moment. So one more lap is confirmed, in fact, by the race control team. Safety car in at the end of this lap, so it'll be a fairly swift one, I would have thought, to get the tyre temperatures back up, the tyre pressures back up, then we can go racing once again. So we lost with the spin early on, Gabriele Rindoni. He's fought back to 20th, but still last in his class, frustratingly. Right, back to turn 3. Stare at the tarmac. Now the car powers out the other side. Confirmation that we'll go racing at the end of this lap. And the pit window is between 20 and 30 minutes. In other words, in 3 minutes and 14 seconds now, the pit window will open, and it's open for 10 minutes. And if you're on your own, you stop for a minute, line to line. And if you are a two-driver, if you're on your own, you stop for 63 seconds. And if you're a two-driver entry, you stop for a minute. So if you're on your own, it's 3 seconds longer, is the way the pit window and the pit stop regulations work out. So safety car peels through turn 8. There are still quite a few actually playing catch-up. You can see that there are some gaps. We've had a few of the back markers just go pounding over the line, hustling on, desperately trying to catch the Crocodile before they are released, and that's not far away. Up through turns 9 and 10 they come. There are drivers in the pit lane getting ready then, because we're only another couple of laps or so off some of the cars diving in early. If you've got your slower driver in first, then you'll want to get them out of the car, get the quick driver in. Others, like Cecotto, for example, I would anticipate will stay out to the end of the pit window. So there is Cecotto getting ready for the restart. Safety car lights out. That's the indication that it will peel in at the end of the lap that we are on. And as it dives, is it going to be Jonathan Cecotto that makes a good start, builds the gap, or is Noah Watt, who's right there behind him, going to be on his toes sufficiently to make a pass on the way down towards the first corner? We are about to find out, because we will go racing in a moment through the last corner, the Arie Bocht, turn 14. There you go. And we are racing. The green lights are on, the green flags wave, and it's Cecotto that leads. Watt second, third Pulcini, who's also given a lifeline here as they come over the line. Does anybody make a move? Under braking, this is Milan Ticon's view. It's all follow my leader into the hairpin, but Ticon's has got good speed, and behind with the lapped car of Prabhakaran there, losing out to Ray Calvin. There's a lot going on. So Ticon's goes one side and then the other of Leonardo Pulcini. So this is for third and fourth places. Ticon's looks to try and find a way by, can't do it. He's under attack also from Karel Bash, who's there in 5th place behind him. Big slide you saw there from Van Berlo, but he gets away with it. He's already had one moment in the race, doesn't want another one. So drivers being wished well, getting ready for their stint, as through the right-hander of Skeflach they come, with Jonathan Cecotto being able to rebuild seemingly that lead. Now it was ebbing away anyway before the safety car was deployed, but right now he's getting on with the job and starting to build that gap once more as the cars turn their way through. Look at that. If anything, it's now Noah Watt coming under attack from Leonardo Pulcini in 3rd place. That's what's now starting to take up attention as the cars work the 11th lap of the race. 50-minute race it is. And there number 6 goes through, Mattia Michelotto in another of the VS Racing cars, the Vincenzo Sospiri team. So here down towards the Hans-Ernst Bocht comes Milan Tikens, threads his way through, but just up the road ahead, you've got the car in the hands, you can see it, of Pulcini, who as the lap wears on, starts to get himself back onto terms with Noah Watt. The pit window is now open. Are there going to be any takers? Over the timing line goes the leader, and Cecotto has certainly done a good job on that restart lap to build the advantage. He goes through with over a second in hand, and everybody staying out for at least one more lap until, look in the background, you get the last handful of cars coming over the line, and Formanek comes in, and also Massimo Siglia comes in as well. So they are both 2-driver entries, so it's a minute, the pit stop. In comes Siglia to give way now to Guillaume Pujol, Spanish driver. Pujol gets in. Another one to watch in the second stint is going to be Milos Pavlovic, taking over from Peter Matic, who is in 21st place. Milos Pavlovic, very experienced, very rapid driver indeed, and of course that safety car period, bunching them all up, will have helped that car also into the second stint of the race. And Antikens here falling away from Pulcini, but Pulcini is all over the back of Noah Watt like a rash, isn't he? Looking for a way by. The two of them are together, lower down the order. You've got there Karol Bash starting to give energetic chase to Milan Tikens. Next in the queue, there, 61, Max Weering. But Cecotto holds sway, and he's got to go for it now. He's got to push, ready to hand over as big a lead as he can justify to Kevin Rossdale. So the order shuffles with the pit window being open. I wouldn't expect the leader to come in this time, but what about second or third? I think Pulcini is fractionally quicker than Kevin Gillard, so he might stay out for a little bit longer yet. And indeed, the leaders come through. No takers out of that leading line. Cecotto's car quivers under braking. Past that concrete wall built on the inside to demark the pit lane from the racetrack in readiness for the Grand Prix. Don't cut the white line. Guillaume Peugeot does not do so that's all good as he goes a lap down against Milan Tikens here. Second gear for turn 3. Back onto the power. There is Cecotto then leading the way, doing his best to pull clear of the traffic now, and this has worked out quite well for him because he's got a back marker which looks like Josef Zaruba between himself and there Noah Watt is stuck, and that means that now Leonardo Pulcini is closing onto the back of him, so it's game on for second, and also the leader is building his advantage. It's worked out really well for Cecotto, this. Almost side by side out of 8. To the inside dives Pulcini, great move to go second, really opportunistic. Darts across the racetrack, and Leonardo Pulcini goes second, and that could be absolutely crucial because straight away now he's going to be able to set off after Cecotto. Noah Watt tries to fight back, but it won't be long before Tikens comes up to have a go at him, and look, Watt gets it wrong under braking for the Hans-Ernst Bocht. And so straight away Watt has to go defensive. Milan Tikens, with his greater Zandvoort knowledge, is right there behind him, and also inching up back into contention is Karol Bash. Diving out of the traffic in the background there, you see the VS racing car that comes in. That is going to be Matteo Michelotto that breaks the timing beam. And on track, Milan Tikens is still right there on the back of Noah Watt. So through they turn. Out of turn 3, almost up over the white line there was Karol Bash, number 16, the white car running in 5th place. Right now, Karol is very happy to be 5th relative to the class opposition, which is at best 13th, because it's a mighty lead that the VS racing car has within the Pro-Am Cup now. More pit stops, 21 is in, so that is the man from Luxembourg, Gabriel Rindoni. And also in, you can see just up ahead, is Claude-Yves Gosselin and Renaud Coupen's car. Renaud Coupen's will take that over going into the second part of the race. Meantime, the leader, with a little bit of traffic that he's got to worry about this time, heads towards us, being slightly impeded, but it was a big lead of 3.7 seconds anyway over Pulcini. We're halfway through the window, so they need to be thinking about the optimal time to come in now if they haven't pitted already. And Cecotto stays out for another lap, and I expect Pulcini will do the same. In comes Noah Watt, so the 3rd place car dives in. Down the pit road also from 4th comes Milan Tikens, so Karol Bash staying out, gets another lap in and elevates himself a place. So Tikens comes to a halt, presses the requisite switches, gets out of the car, and now Max Usten will get on board. Milan Tikens, another of the Lamborghini Young Driver Programme participants, has done his bit. Now 99, this is the car that Andrea Cola, another young driver, in fact, Lamborghini Young Driver Programme member, he's just taken it over, and he's in the way a bit of Cecotto here. Jonathan Cecotto hasn't yet found a way past him, and that means that he is being caught net by Pulcini. Look at this, he's finally got through the traffic, but what was 3.7 seconds, he's coming down and down and down, and also now, look, number 9, Kiko Galbiati round the outside of Andrea Cola, so this is for 2nd in Pro-Am, and Galbiati makes that look easy, goes right round the outside, picks up the place. Andrea Cola fights back, but Galbiati, very experienced driver, He's a Lamborghini Junior as opposed to young driver, if you're following this, so that puts him into GT3 terms normally. But Galbiati is through and gone, and now should check out. Pulcini, though, still under attack. It wasn't Noah Watt that came in, forgive me, he stayed out for another lap. It was the other green car, that of Houston and Tekin. So Noah Watt there is on the back of Pulcini, the traffic playing tricks with the gaps in some cases. This time into the pit lane comes Noah Watt, so having got onto the back of the traffic, can't get any further, and comes into the pit lane. There he is. Here's one I prepared a lap ago. So number 2 into the pits. Noah Watt to give way to Sebastian Balthazar. So the former Carter German F3 racer, and like Noah Watt, Lamborghini driver from last year onwards in Super Trofeo comes in. Who else have we got in the pit lane? You can see also Max Weering is in. And the next one in the background that breaks the pit in beam any second is confirmed as Gerhard Watzinger. So he comes in, as also does Pierre Feligioni. So 54, which has had the driver change. Max Houston at the wheel of it. He's about half a lap down on the leaders, but he'll gain that time back, of course, when they pit. Coming down now towards the Hans-Ernst Bock, named after the former chief executive of the circuit. More and more for the pit lane. And the margin last time, Cecotto to Pulcini, 2.2 seconds. Max Weering just rejoining, I can see, as there is Cecotto running it up against the curb. Comes now up through the final corner. Out of the line, Dyke boxed up towards the line, stays out for another lap. He's cutting this very fine. In comes Pulcini. But that last lap from Cecotto was 1 minute and 37, and I reckon he's got about 2 seconds to spare before the pit window closes. It is going to be tight, this, for him. Have they run it too late? So Jonathan Cecotto staying out for as long as possible. All it needs is for a couple of corners of traffic on this lap, and he's done for. It's going to be really, really marginal. Whoops! That's Leonardo Pulcini's only error of the race, really, falling over his mechanic. So aboard gets Kevin Gillardoni. That is Sebastian Balthazar then now at the wheel of the Leipert car number 2, which had been running in second place. Is it going to be able to get second place back after that good stint by Pulcini just to move ahead towards the end? Balthazar presses on. At the moment, he's got clear track space around him, which others may not be quite so fortunate to find. Out of the Hans-Ernst Bock. This is the car he's trying to jump ahead of, so Balthazar versus Gillardoni. But where are they going to be in relation to number 7 when that pits? Away goes Kevin Gillardoni. The Oregon car blasts down the pit road, and now Kevin Rossdale prepares to take over from Jonathan Cecotto. Italian GT4 racers of years past, both for GSM. But still think they've run this very, very fine indeed. So 6 seconds, 5, 4 on the clock. In comes Cecotto. Does he get to the beam in time? Just about, I would say. He crossed the line just a moment ago, but the race officials will make sure that that happened before the pit window closed. It was very tight, so that'll be, I'm sure, looked at. Into the car will get Kevin Rossdale. Jonathan Cecotto's stint done, interrupted by that safety car period. Now this is for second place, and it could be for the lead. It is Kevin Gillardoni ahead of Sebastian Balthazar. So it is Oregon ahead of Leipert. Oregon new to Super Trofeo this year, and bringing its distinctive colour scheme into the championship, diving to the inside line there and through. Out of the traffic goes Kevin Gillardoni. We'll see also where this shuffles the Pro-Am contest into the second stint as well in a few moments, as they're out of turn 9 they come. So Kevin Rossdale is good to go aboard number 7. Pit window is closed, 19 minutes of the race remain, and the margin that Cecotto had fluctuated a bit. The car, number 7, the leading car, released now, gets away. whereas Kevin Gillard here and behind him Sebastian Balthazar are on their way up towards the timing line. So now the number 7 GSM car with Kevin Rossdale at the wheel is released. It will start to pick up pace as it comes now through the pit lane exit lane, and there, second and third, they've still got some catching to do. And number 7 is under investigation for a pit stop infringement, and I think that is because it came in just the wrong side of the time. So there, Jonathan Cecotto with a lot of head shaking, I think has got the message that you might have missed it by a second or two. So the GSM team didn't ponder whether they'd run it a bit marginal. It's being looked at, but it could be that he was a second or two after the pit lane closed. There's confirmation then. Number 7 under investigation for a pit stop infringement, and that will be missing the window effectively. Even though the car came in, might have been a second or 2 seconds late. If the window was shut, then hard luck. And there's not much euphoria in that team, is there? Jonathan Cecotto feeling, I've done everything I could, but if the team said stay out, that's what he did. But they will have called it from the pit wall, but I think it could have just tripped the wrong side. So right now, this is the leader, Kevin Rossdale, but there's this Damocletian investigation behind Kevin Gillardoni and then Sebastian Balthazar. Let's see, there they are on track. Gillardoni is getting away from Balthazar, interestingly. They were together when we last looked, but the gap now is widening. It's Max Ooston there going through in 4th place. 5th, it is Max Weering. 6th, Andre Lewandowski, I would offer you. 7th now, Raoul Gutzman taking over from Glenn van Berlo. And then Michael Doerbeker with Kiko Galbiati next in the queue. The lead gap is 3 seconds, and this lap is going to be Kevin Rossdale's first flyer, so it's at the end of this that we'll start to gauge an idea of his pace and indeed potential. But while this pit stop is looked at, 16 minutes remain. So there's number 7. And a big spin, whoops, and backwards into the wall goes Andrea Cola. So he's lost it, looped it round turn 1, and as the car came across that slightly banked hairpin, it's dumped him back into the concrete, and that will have done it no good whatsoever. Andrea Cola then came over the line in 10th place, but he's not going to be there for long, and that car has not rejoined. Now, did he get a tap? Oh, yes, I think he might have done, because there, bang, up the inside went Milos Pavlovic, turns Cola around. And then as the car finishes its spin, it ends up in the wall. And that will be a very irate driver. Dare one say Cola will be fizzing inside that car because he is still stranded. And is this going to be another interruption while the marshals get that car out of the way? It doesn't seem to want to restart. The flame spits, but the engine, because it's hot, won't fire. And it's in an awkward place. The race director leaving it without a knee-jerk reaction to give the car time to get going. But yeah, we've gone yellow, we've gone safety car again. It isn't moving. So another safety car period, and this for some is bad news because less chance of being able to build a gap. It's good news for others. It helps Gillardoni and Balthazar to get up onto the tail of Kevin Rossdale, though, for the race lead. So a second safety car period. And it shouldn't be a long one, I wouldn't have thought, to get that car out of harm's way down at turn 1. But the leaders, for the moment, come shortly over the line to be picked up for safety car conditions with just 15 minutes of the race to go. So the lights on the safety car flash as soon as everybody gets behind it. Then we have the option for the marshals to dash out onto the circuit to go and attend to the drama. There, the safety car turns its way through Skyflach up towards turn 8, the Masters corner. For many, many years, the F3 Masters competition was the big draw at Zandvoort, and brought in the days when there were national Formula 3 championships, people from German, the Italian, British all to do battle here, a sort of mid-season equivalent of the Macau Grand Prix or the Korean Super Prix or the Bahrain event that Barry Bland ran at the end of each year. But when the cigarette sponsor withdrew its backing and Formula 3 changed its complexion anyway, so the event faded away. So the safety car in at the end of this lap, very, very brief safety car period, which is good news. And so we'll be back racing very shortly. Still waiting on more news of the investigation about the race leader. Hopefully it will come before the race finishes. The last thing we want is for a result on track that then changes subsequently, but it is being looked at. So one safety car for Dan Pell, another for Andrea Cola. Max Houston getting ready to go. And was that up the curb? Kevin Rossdale, slightly strange line. Anyway, weaving around to get the tyre pressures back up. He accelerates away and does get the drop on Gillardoni, the team manager of car 7, to the race director immediately. So the leader is Kevin Rossdale, but a penalty, I fear, is on its way as diving to the inside goes Sebastian Balthazar. That was late, that was brave, and that worked. Brilliant move, really, really brave dive up the inside. And Kevin Gillardoni had no option but to give him racing room. Maxime Houston is the next driver to try to have a go at the now third place car of Kevin Gillardoni, but he can't do it at turn 3. So Balthazar back up into second, and Gillardoni runs out wide. He's just lost third place there, put off his stride possibly, and so Max Houston pounces. Through Hunsrück they go, and he's gone by. There are more cars under investigation for their pit stop times. Not only is the leader under investigation, so is the Galbiati Ramos entry, so is the now spun Kola and Gvatsava entry, and also Hans Fabry from Imperiali Racing. His pit stop is being looked at. So I don't think that's, in the other cases, it's not for when they came in, it's for the amount of time spent in the pit lane. So right now, the race leader battles on. But I fear that all is not going to be happiness within the GSM camp at the end of the race. So the lead gap coming down anyway, as now onto the back of Kevin Rossdale comes Sebastian Balthazar. There he is, turns through. Former Carter went single-seater racing initially before switching to Super Trofeo last year. And in third place, having fallen back a little bit. Let's see, over the line, Maxime Houston, the gap is widened, but he's gained that place. Down to fourth then is Kevin Gillardoni, so he's the big loser on that lap, 2 places lost. Fifth is Max Weering, who is getting closer and closer all the time now. Very deep into turn 3 goes Weering. Look up the road ahead of him, big twitch, but ahead of him you can see Gillardoni closing back up onto the tail of Max Houston, so he's regrouping. This is the battle for third place now. Through they turn, up now towards Skyflach, and then up towards the Masters Bocht. Look at the windscreen of the cars at certain corners, and you think they've got the wiper on. It's actually a reflection of the many cranes that are around the circuit, but it gives you an illusion that the wiper is on. But despite the threat of rain, it remains dry, mercifully, at Zandvoort. And on his toes to get back ahead of Houston is Gillardoni for third place. He gets the tighter line coming out of turn 9, but he doesn't get the drive out of the corner to level with number 54 then. So as they power down towards the Hans-Ernst Bocht, the Bonaldi entry keeps the Oregon car at bay, but only just. Gillardoni had another look to the inside, and now he's getting ever more towy because Max Weering is right there behind him. Brilliant corner, this reprofile line, Dyke Bocht. Up towards the timing line, going defensive. Look, is Gillardoni trying to cover off the inside line. 10 minutes and counting of the race to go. And there are penalties coming, thousandths of a second in some cases, but a drive-through and also 2.3 seconds for the leader. So Kevin Rossdale is being given a drive-through penalty for not stopping in the window and 2.3 seconds for the pit stop being short anyway. If you're under a second short, the bit you're under by is multiplied, and that's how you end up with your time penalty. So it is a drive-through first, and then 2.3 seconds to be added at the end of the race for the leading car. So, Sebastian Balthazar, number 2, in real terms now is the race leader. And the battle between Houston and Gillardoni is on for second place. So number 7 is the leader on the road. Ignore that car, penalties fly. That, number 2, is the race leader. And for second place, Houston versus Gillardoni. Here they come towards us then. Sebastian Balthazar, if he gets the message, will realise that he doesn't have to be quite so determined in his efforts to get through. But what he doesn't want to do is just sit there and possibly be caught by the Houston Gillardoni Wearing train behind him. And a slow Gillardoni coming out of the Hans Ernst box. A mistake made. Wrong line, loss of momentum. And Max Wearing now comes up to try and have a go. 8 minutes to go, off the curve, up towards the line. So the leaders go through. Lap in the book, that was lap 23. Other cars being given penalties include the Galbiati Ramos car, the Kola Gvatsava car, Formanek and Zaruba's car also. And there's a fourth one, I think. Yes, number 41, Gutsman and Van Berlo. Way up banking there was Max Wearing. That's the kind of line that gets the officials excited about track limits. You wonder if there's anything to be really gained by going that high, but partly it's about momentum, and also you can then fire the car off the banking and perhaps gain ground. Just had into the pit lane Andrei Lewandowski. So significantly, the Pro-Am pole position car comes into the pit lane. Clearly not a scheduled stop, clearly a problem. And Lewandowski, for Vincenzo Sospiri's team, gives up a class position. The leader currently of Pro-Am is Kiko Galbiati by 0.4 of a second, but he's going to gain 57 thousandths by way of a penalty at the end of the race. And there, keeping out of everybody's way, number 66 is that, or is that the second of the AKF cars? Either way, it's slow and it's being monstered by the traffic on the lead lap. So Galbiati to Pavlovic in Pro-Am. If Pavlovic gets much closer, he could be on to inherit the class lead. Number 9, you'll see, is Kiko Galbiati, and there right behind him is the green car that was started by Petar Matic. Now Milos Pavlovic at the wheel. So this is going to be touch and go because of the penalty that looms over. Kiko Galbiati up towards the line they come. It doesn't matter how many times the teams do this. Race after race, we always end up with some being given penalties, and if your penalty is 57 thousandths, it does illustrate how marginal you were under by, but even so, you were under. The teams are always told, play it safe, be over the time, not under it, but we always seem to get some. Right, the leaders are currently on lap 25. We've got 6 minutes to go, effectively. Kiko Galbiati turns through. It's Michael Durbecker just up the road ahead of him. So Durbecker there, look, one of the pro cars, still charging on. That's the 7th car overall, 7th in the pro class. 61, Max Wearing, 5th on the road at the moment. But all that's going to change when you, first of all, put the time penalty to Rossdale, and of course, he's got to serve that drive-through, and he's not done it yet. Should be in this time. Sebastian Balthazar then to take over the lead. There, Pavlovic goes for the lead of Pro-Am. He gets up the inside of Galbiati, sticks his nose up the inside. There's contact between them, 2 hard chargers here, and Kiko Galbiati keeps on pushing, brakes as late as he does for the Hans Ernst Bock and goes back through them. So the Pro-Am lead reverts to number 9 then. Galbiati goes back through the target car just ahead of the Bonaldi entry. 4.5 on the clock. Now Lewandowski, who's in the pits anyway, is under investigation for crossing the white line at the pit exit. In fact, that's on his release. He has rejoined, and on that very release, crossed the white line. So he's now being looked at. Race control seems to be busy in Lamborghini Super Trofeo. It's not a job if you like a cushy life. There's the Pro-Am leader. Kiko Galbiati then turns through, still being chased hard by Pavlovic. Whoa. Big late break there from Max Wearing. It's not the first time he's done that going into turn 3. Pavlovic now tries it as well. Deep in, running out wide, firing off the banking. So So lap 26 we work. Fastest lap of the race to Jonathan Cecotto, set earlier on. A 1 minute 36.4. We're now in the 37s, 38s for most cars at the lead. As Pavlovic again tries to inch up onto the back here of the Kiko Galbiati driven class leading car number 9. Miguel Ramos just sauntered across the pit lane to go and have a look at the timing screens and work out whether or not they are going to win this class, because Pavlovic needs to get within 56 thousandths effectively to inherit it on that time penalty at the end. When they're so evenly matched, even hunting down a 10th isn't the work of a moment. So number 99 back into the race, Andrea Cola, but he's a lap down after the spin. You can see the damage at the back of the car where it had spun around, reversing into the concrete. That is Ray Calvin, and he is still the leader of the AMS, and he's 11th overall from Gabriele Rindoni and now Mark Rossdale behind him. So Ray Calvin, who has been a front runner all season in the AMS, but could be on for his maiden win here, because at least showed good pace. He hasn't been a winner. Kevin Rossdale has just served his drive-through, so that gets the lead car out of the lead, and it puts officially now Sebastian Balthazar up front, and now we'll start to see where this drops Kevin Rossdale too. So big frustration on the part of the two drivers, really. It was the team, I suspect, that made the call as to when Cecotto would come in, and it was the wrong call. It was too late, but only by a second or two. So as the race leader, Sebastian Balthazar, works lap 27, there'll be time for one more lap at the end of this, and it's going to be a maiden win this year for them. So Balthazar and Noah Watt, they drove together last year, and they lead currently by half a second from Max Husten. There is 27, which is now Guillaume Peugeot at the wheel, as 88 Hans Fabry, second currently in the Lamborghini Cup, loses track position to Max Weering. They're on different laps, of course. Hans Fabry for Imperiale Racing. Imperiale, which for a number of seasons was always one of the front-running teams in the pro category, with Vito Posiglione, for example, but doesn't really have a pro entry anymore, so it's having to run customers, and you almost, with respect, forget that it's there. But as a team doing good things in the classes, still very much one of the top squads. But it's a Lippert car up front. This 54 up over the line for Bonaldi is Max Husten, taking over from Milan Tikens, and the margin between them is still only half a second, so we're on to the last lap of the race. And if Tikens is able to apply enough pressure to Balthazar, he might just be able to jump ahead of him. Here they come into turn 3, traffic ahead. Kevin Gillard only runs third, not a million miles adrift either. Through Hunsrud for the last time now. This traffic goes against the race leader, Tikens will have an opportunity, or sorry, Husten will have an opportunity. They both dive past the slower car, so no dramas for Sebastian Balthazar, who's actually fractionally faster within the first sector anyway than was Max Husten. Kevin Gillard only runs third still. Max Weering fourth, getting fractionally nearer as well. So there is Max Husten, but he's running out of corners, and therefore it does look as though we are going to have our fourth different winner out of 5 races within the pro class, within the overall contest. In other words, another win for the Lippert team, but Sebastian Balthazar, Noah Watt, the drivers there. Best of the season for Max Husten and Milan Tikens, equaling what they did at Monza, a second. About a first-time win this year for Noah Watt, and Sebastian Balthazar beckons as they come out of the last corner. There's the checkered flag. Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt win race 1 for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe at Zandvoort. Second over the line, Max Husten and Milan Tikens, and for third, Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Pulcini should be through. Fourth across the line, Max Weering ahead of Raoul Gutzmann and Glenn Van Berlo, and for 6th place, Michael Dorbacher. Now, what about penalties? Over the line first in Pro-Am, Kiko Galbiati by 3/10, so surviving. So it's a class win for Galbiati and Ramos. What about AMS? Ray Calvin scores a class win there, and in the Lamborghini Cup, it's a very happy Pierre Feligioni because Daniel Waszinski has brought the car home, and so a class win, but Bonaldi are all smiles. Good results all round, with a second overall, with a second in the Pro-Am contest. Peter Matic looking very happy, and drama at the end, because facing the wrong way is Gerhard Watzinger. Now, has he done that on his last lap or the slowing down lap? I think it's on his last lap, but either way, Watzinger has had a rotation. Confirmation, though, of the winners, Noah Watt and Sebastian Balthazar, by 0.581 of a second from Max Ooston and Milan Tikens, with third going to Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Pulcini. In Pro-Am, Kiko Galbiati and Miguel Ramos the winners, Milos Pavlovic and Peter Matic second, and Guillaume Peugeot and Massimo Siglia taking third. AMS, Ray Calvin the winner from Gabriele Rindoni, and then third, Marc Rostin and Claude Gosselin. With the Lamborghini Cup going the way of Pierre Legioni and Daniel Waszinski, Hans Fabry second, and Luciano and Donovan Privitello taking third. The FFF racing team running that car, coming new to Super Trofeo this year after many, many seasons and lots of success in GT World Challenge, Europe, Sprint and Endurance, and now dovetailing this as well with the many Lamborghini activities. But a delighted Noah Watt goes to join and greet Sebastian Balthazar. And the Leipert squad delighted with that. Great drive by Sebastian Balthazar, having lost the lead, fought it back and taking the win. So celebrations all round down in the pit lane. So the Leipert team take honours in the Pro-Am contest, target racing, the winners. In the AMS for Ray Calvin, Leipert again. And then in the Lamborghini Cup, it is Brooks and Gini on the winning team. So as they cross the line, Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt taking the win from Milan Tikens and Maxime Ooston, with Kevin Gilardoni and Leonardo Pulcini in third. Max Weering, the soloist, fourth, ahead of Raul Gutzmann and Glenn Van Berlo. Michael Durbecker and Mattia Michelotto sixth, from Kiko Galbiati and Miguel Ramos, who win Pro-Am from Milos Pavlovic and Peter Matic. Massimo Siglia and Guillaume Peugeot third in class. 10th after the penalties, Jonathan Cicotto and Kevin Rossdale, pitting after the window, plus being short on the pit stop anyway. Ray Calvin 11th to take the AM win, and Pierre Legioni and Daniel Waszinski 17th to take honours in the Lamborghini Cup. We didn't have Dan Peel and Danny Kruss get to the end, and Dan Wells and Oscar Lee's car sadly didn't start after being involved in skirmishes and hot water from the stewards this morning. So the drivers make their way to the Parc Fermé area, and Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt, race winners for the first time this year. They'll be delighted, and they are with Gemma Scott as well.
Sebastian, Noah, what a fantastic result. The emotion is evident. Your first victory. Sebastian, we'll come to you first. I guess you didn't expect it to be first like that.
Well, I did not, but Noah did a good preparation. So I had the chance to coming and making the move after the safety car, and then you could handle it for the win. So it was awesome. But it's true, it's really tough to handle the tires. He did really well. Gave me the car, I could do the move, and we have it. I'm really happy about that.
Absolutely, and no, we could see how happy you were as Sebastian came across the line.
Yeah, I mean, I'm over the moon. Really happy about it. It's a really fun track to race at. You know, it's old school, but it also makes it very difficult to overtake. Actually, I think we have about 2 or 3 overtaking opportunities. Also with the lap cars, you know, and blue flags and stuff, it makes it really difficult. But at the same time, it also makes it very exciting. And I'm super happy for me and Seb. Did a great job in the end. Pulled up the move after the safety car restart. And yeah, I wanna take my time to say thank you to all my sponsors for making me living out my dream.
Well, absolutely. May the dream continue throughout the rest of the season. Congratulations once again.
Thank you. I would also like to say thank you to my dad, to my family for the support, and to the team Leipert. They did a really awesome job. I mean, the whole weekend was fantastic, and let's looking forward for the race tomorrow.
Absolutely. Let's see if we can have a double victory.
Yeah, that's the aim.
Well done, boys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
all this getting in for English Father's Day tomorrow, perhaps. Thank you, Dads. Right, let's look back at the best bits of that race. There was an awful lot going on in it. Great start by Jonathan Cecotto, who swept into that early lead on the run down towards the Tarzan hairpin. To the outside of him was Noah Watt, but he couldn't quite wriggle away round. Way low over the white line was Leonardo Pulcini. Big spin early on for Gabriel Rendoni. And then at the end of the opening lap, drama befell the number 41 entry of Glenn van Berlo off the road through the gravel, and that was how Milan Tikens saw it, very nearly getting caught up in it as well. Off the road, Dan Pell, that brought out the safety car while the Dutch driver was retrieved from the beach. He did his best to drive out the other side, but it was not going to happen for him. So that, as I say, brought out the first of two safety cars. The race got back underway. Cecotto was being caught before that safety car by Noah Watt, but he was able to stretch the margin on the restart. And then we approached the pit window, which in turn shuffled the order. There were good battles on track as well. Leonardo Pulcini hustling along to catch Noah Watt, and a great scrap between the two. Pulcini diving to the inside line and finding a way by just before the pit window became an element for all of them. Jonathan Cecotto, though, was told to stay out for a little bit longer and missed the pit lane closing. So as a result of that, got a drive-through. It also meant that we had, after the stops, a great fight going on between Kevin Gillardoni and Sebastian Balthazar, as Andrea Kola was tipped into a spin by Milos Pavlovic, and that may well end up being looked at as well. Max Houston on his toes as he saw a chance to get past Kevin Gillardoni. Kiko Galbiati versus Milos Pavlovic for the Pro-Am lead. Contact between the two. Galbiati eventually going back ahead and hanging on in there to take the class win. And the sorry sight, the walk of shame of the drive-through for erstwhile leader Kevin Rossdale, meaning that it was a win for Noah Watt and Sebastian Balthazar in race 5 of Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe for 2021. So the podium awaits, and the drivers now being called forward. We've got the 4 classes to attend to. So who do we get first? Let us see in a moment, because out will come the overall top 3 in reverse order. Leonardo Pulcini and Kevin Gillardoni should be first. I'll say it louder. Kevin Gillardoni and Leonardo Pulcini should be first. Yes, trophies in hand now for third place, the bronze Lamborghinis. Then a popular second for the Dutch drivers Maxime Houston and Milan Tikens. Fist bumps with their rivals. And then the winners for the first time this year, Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt, make their way out onto the top step of the podium. And with them will be Leipert Motorsports representative, because the winning team is the German squad. Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt, both members of Lamborghini's Young Driver Programme, come out on top in race 1 here at Zandvoort. National anthem is playing. I promise you that the backdrop is of noisy touring cars that have arrived in the pit lane here. The drivers can just about hear it, and so Sebastian Balthazar and Noah Watt celebrate for Leipert Motorsport. Final photographs required before Milan Tikens and Maxime Houston are released. So that's the Pro category attended to. Pro-Am will be next, as the drivers in a moment will step forward. What this now does to the championship is that Noah Watt and Sebastian Balthazar now have 49 points, you see, to the 46 of Pulcini and Gillardoni, and third is Max Weering ahead of the Tikens and Austin combination. Let's go to Pro-Am next, because there are Guillaume Peugeot and Massimo Siglia. A rather scary face mask. For second place, Milos Pavlovic and a very happy Peter Matic. And the top step goes to Miguel Ramos, his second class win of the day, because he's had one in GT World Challenge Europe Sprint Cup. And Kiko Galbiati, who joins him in the class winning Target Racing entry. And the Italian team takes the category win. So photographs to be taken of the winning 3 teams. And then we'll move to 2 more podiums. The AMs are next, and there is how Pro-Am now looks. Karol Bash and Andrzej Lewandowski delayed with dramas, still in the lead of the class, with Andrea Kola and Dimitri Guletsava second, only 6 points between them, and then third Josef Zaruba and Bronislav Fomenek. So there, the AMs, third of the AM combinations was the car of Claude-Yves Gosselin and Marc Rossdale. Hate to think what the combined age of those 2 is. Second in the class, going the way of Gabriel Rindoni, but the top step to Ray Calvin for Lippert Motorsport, adding to what is a very good day for the German team. So well done, Ray Calvin. First win of the year in a class that has been rather dominated by Raffaele Giannoni. He's taken 3 wins out of 4, but they're not here this weekend. So Raffaele Giannoni absent. As far as the class in the championship is concerned, Claude-Yves Gosselin leads it on his solo points, if you like, because he's had different co-drivers. Raffaele Giannoni now second, Ray Calvin third. Renaud Kuppens absent this weekend, 4th, and Gabriel Rindoni is 5th. Lamborghini Cup podium will conclude a busy podium time, and already they are out brandishing trophies with father and son Privitellios, Donovan and Luciano for third. Second goes the way there of Hans Fabry, who's taken 2 wins himself this year, and a second win of the year goes to Pierre Feligioni and Daniel Waszyński for the Brooks and Gignon team. They in a moment will step forward. You don't exactly leap onto the podium. I suppose if you're a proper gentleman racer, you've done all your leaping. Up they climb. Oh, got there to the top step. And Pierre Feligioni and Daniel Waszyński celebrate a second Lamborghini Cup win of the season. So well done to Pierre Feligioni and to Daniel Waszyński. A second victory of the season, which is going to help further in the championship with, of course, another 50-minute race to come here tomorrow around the seaside circuit of Zandvoort. The drivers make their way from the podium, and we'll see what tomorrow brings. The championship now being headed by only a point for Waszyński and Feligioni over Hans Fabry after 5 races in the season. So, as ever, drama, partly on track, partly because of infringements for Lamborghini Super Trofeo Europe, and we'll see the cars out on track for the second race of the weekend tomorrow here in the dunes, but the teams, thankfully, without too much to repair overnight. Most cars managed to get through that without drama, and we'll see what tomorrow's 6th race of the championship brings. Jonathan Cecotto and Kevin Rossdale still eager for a win, and they will bounce back, I'm sure, in order to go even better tomorrow. The pace was there, it was just that pit lane infringement that did for them. So we'll see what round 6 of the championship brings tomorrow, but for now, from Zandvoort, from Gemma Scott in the pits and David Addison trackside, it's goodbye.